Landman, which is one of the 47 shows that Taylor Sheridan has on air on Paramount Plus right now, is set in West Texas and digs into fortune-seeking in the world of oil rigs. Based on the Boomtown podcast, the series features rugged oil men, billionaires, cabals, cartels, an old people's home that was taken over by a pair of vivacious women, and the National Guard. Joining us today to talk about the Black Gold is star Billy Bob Thornton, who's actually joining us from West Texas, I understand. Hi, Billy.
Hi.
Before we go drilling for stories, let's watch a clip.
You good?
Yeah, I'm just fucking dandy.
You will be. Jimenez, he did not understand what I understand, which is that we must coexist. There are times where you lose things, trucks, planes, and there are times I lose things, trucks, planes, merchandise. But that's just business. So, how do we get back to where it was so we can coexist?
Well, you understand, above everything else, nobody can escalate this higher than we can. And I'm guessing you know that, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So, you want to go back? Stay out of our fucking way. Or I go sit with every CEO of every oil company in the Permian Basin, and we build a DEA a fucking city. For free. It ain't nothing for us to throw $10 or $20 billion at a problem. Nothing. Now you got a couple of sheriffs and some judges and some mayors along the border there. We've got ex-presidents on our boards. And senators. Hell, Chevron named a fucking oil tanker after Condoleezza Rice. Here's the thing. You have no idea who you're fucking with. And if you kill me and hang me off a goddamn bridge, guess what happens next? We blow up the fucking bridge. We're the last bear you want to poke, bud, because we have unlimited funds and unlimited connections.
Hello, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. I must say you look slightly better today than you did in that clip.
Yeah. Andy's men kind of worked me over a little bit, yeah.
They certainly did. And you just started production on season 2 of Landman. Is that where you're joining us from today? Yes,
we started, let's see, about a week and a half ago, I guess, almost 2 weeks ago. And it's good to be back there. And the great news is we still have the pretty much, I'd say 3/4 of the same crew we did last year.
Great.
So everybody knows everybody. And it's, it kind of fits like a glove. I mean, this show for a lot of us. And this year, Andy and Demi Moore will figure more into it than last season, which is nice because I go way back with both of them, and it's pretty cool. Sam Elliott, who I go back to the mid-'80s with. Yes, I'm old.
Good. Well, let's get to season 2 in a second, Billy. You play oil man Tommy Norris. You had a guest spot on 1883, and I gather after that Taylor said, "There's something with this guy. Maybe I should write him a part." Is that right?
Well, Taylor had gotten a hold of me and said, "Listen, I'm doing this show 1883. It's got your old buddies Sam and Tim and Faith in it, and I wrote this cameo, and once I wrote the cameo, I realized that I needed a guy who had done this type of thing before. And he said, would you come down and do this cameo? You'll be here just over the weekend, and you get free lunch. And I said, I'm starving. So I went down there, and I shot everybody in the saloon and went home. It was fun. And when they had the premiere in Las Vegas for it, afterward, I was sitting with Taylor at dinner, and he said, listen, I'm writing this show. It's called Landman. It's about looking behind the curtain of the oil business. And I thought, well, that's interesting. They haven't really done that in a long time anyway. One of my favorite movies coming up was Giant, with Rock Hudson, Elizabeth Taylor, and James Dean. And so it seemed to be like Giant with more cursing. And
Well, hold on. Does that make you Bic or Jet?
I think I'm kind of a combo of the two of them, It's a pretty interesting character. It's essentially the thing that really appeals to me about the character. He's someone who has the weight of his world on his shoulders every day of his life, and then problems just come at him from every direction, including his family and friends, co-workers, everybody. And you're working in a business that's very dangerous. It's it's informative in a lot of ways, and what I like about it is it shows different points of view and everything, and I think these days and times, people tend to watch things with an agenda. And so if you showed one of Van Gogh's paintings these days, they would say, well, it's painted brilliantly, but I don't like birds, So I think that happens a lot of times. So Taylor really just presents the way it works, the various things that go on in this. And of course, like you said, it was based on a podcast by Christian Wallace called Boomtown. And he and his family all worked in the oil business, actually in the fields. And, they know what they're talking about. So that's really good. And anytime I didn't know what something meant, for sure, because as an actor, you can't just learn lines and recite them, because people are not stupid. They catch on pretty soon that you're just doing it by rote. So we were lucky enough to have them on set, both of them, to say, hey, exactly what does this mean? That way, when I look in another actor's eyes, I can say it with confidence because I know the meaning behind it.
But it's gone down well with that community, Billy. So it must be, that group of oil men and landmen, they recognize themselves in Tommy.
Yeah, I think so. I have run into a lot of people, but you know what's surprising about the show? We figured that it would do well with sort of the middle of the country, maybe not the coast as well. And we didn't really have a lot of, we didn't think too much about an international audience, in other words. And as it turns out, it became like at the end of January, it was the #1 streaming show in the world. And we were like bowled over, It was like, we couldn't believe it. Yeah. And it's appealed to a lot of different types of people, which we're very proud of, the fact that people really like the show this much. And, you get interested in characters when you watch something, whatever it is, and people want to know what's going to happen next. And I think that's the wonderful thing about streaming is it gives people something to get invested in for a period of time, and evidently they invested pretty well. And we're all very proud.
Yeah, they certainly have. You alluded to it's not just the oil fields that cause Tommy some bother, but his family. So obviously you have his ex-wife Angela, played by Ali Larter, who becomes a little bit more than just an ex-wife. You have his daughter Ainsley. You have his son Cooper. There's a bit of bother at home as well, particularly the women in his life. They give him a little bit of gyp, right?
It's a full-time job, yes. I remember somebody saying to me, and I think some of the early reviews were saying, "Oh, there aren't really women like Allie in real life and stuff. It's like sort of a heightened reality with her character and everything." And I said, "Have you ever been to Dallas?" Just go down there, and believe me, Allie's on every other corner.
It's all elbows and eyebrows, isn't it? Something like that.
Right.
You've come full circle in season 1. We start off with Tommy getting the crap kicked out of him, and then we end, as you saw there, with Andy. There's an interesting moment, as you see with the coyote. I'm trying to get the sense that you as an oil man and the cartel with Andy Garcia's character is sort of coexisting. I'm trying to figure out, in those final scenes where Tommy sees the coyote, does that make you or the cartel? There's something about that scene that could be read either way.
Yes. And that was Taylor's intention, really. And originally, and there are a couple of moments where I see a coyote out in the field staring at me. So the idea behind that is this coyote a ghost? Is it real? Is he me? Is he the cartel? And then when the one gets killed right in front of me, it's like, did I just get killed or did I kill someone else? Who am I? Is that coyote me? We seem to have a connection. Maybe it's them. Originally, there was a bunch of dialogue in those scenes, and Taylor and I talked it over, and I said, you know what, I don't know if I should say anything. I mean, people are going to get it, so we don't really want to put a hat on a hat, like I have right now. But one way or the other, it was a very powerful scene. I mean, even doing it, Getting a coyote to stand still and stare at you is not easy, but we managed it.
Yeah, I can't imagine how you do that. You mentioned at the top that Andy and Demi getting a slightly bigger role in season 2. And Tommy himself has got a big job on his hands. He's essentially got a promotion because of the death of his pal Monty, played by John Hamm.
Yes, exactly. All of a sudden, I'm promoted from executive vice president to president of an oil company, which obviously Demi's character is running now because of, or owns now because of the death of her husband. But I've got to run it because she doesn't really know how to do that. So now I'm kind of executive and a landman and a family man in the midst of this tornado. So it makes for some pretty interesting stuff, I have to say.
Tommy doesn't strike me as the man who puts on a suit very often, does he?
No, not really. I think the only difference in my wardrobe this year is that every now and then I'll throw a sport jacket over my jeans and crummy button-up shirt every now and then.
Does that make Demi's character, Cammy Miller, does that make her in charge? She's the boss then, I guess.
Yes, she is. But I'm sort of, since she doesn't really know the oil business that well, I'm there with her, to kind of show her how these people operate, because you can know something intellectually, but then what are the street smarts behind that? Because I know how to deal with these people that she's going to have to deal with. And so I just tell her, it's like, look, some of these deals you can take, but when it gets really weird and difficult, let me know. Let me do that because I know these guys. And so it's an interesting dynamic between us. And Monty, her husband, who's passed away, was my best friend. We came up together. So I've been close with her in that sense. But now we're going to be business partners, and we'll see where that goes.
It's not like Tommy didn't have some bother in the first season. There was, as we said, the cartels, you had the National Guard in there and everything else. But it does feel like there's more pressure on his shoulders this coming season.
Yes, for sure. He goes from having a job that's really difficult and a job that's very dangerous to having two different types of jobs in the same world there.
Yeah. Any NFL owners joining you for season 2? You had Jerry Jones put in an Emmy-winning deserving performance there in season 1.
Jerry Jones was so good in that thing. It was essentially he was telling his own story. Yeah. Taylor just let him tell the actual story of how things went with him and how he bought the Dallas Cowboys, how he got involved in oil, the whole thing. So it's a guy sitting there telling us exactly what happened to him in real life, which was it was pretty moving, I have to say, being in the room with him, and he did a fabulous job. And I told him, if he ever sells the Cowboys, give us a call.
I'd like to see you deal with Roger Goodell there, Billy. You have said that this is one of the most fun casts and crews you've been around. What is that? Why is that? What's it about?
Everybody's there to do this job, and to not and yet not take it as a job. You know what I mean? In other words, we're so lucky. Like every day when I wake up, I feel very fortunate in my life that I'm able to do something artistic, something that I love, and try to provide entertainment or insight to the audience, take care of my family, And I think all the people in this set feel the same way. I think we don't go to work like we're going to the sawmill or the machine shop. We go there because we really all care about each other, and we're there for this one goal, and we feel very lucky that we're there. So no one's taking this for granted, and I think that it just sets a great mood on our set. We don't have a lot of temper tantrums and people not coming out of their trailers and stuff like that. It doesn't really happen.
Well, that's good to hear. We're looking forward to seeing what you're cooking up for season 2. So please give it up to Billy Bob Thornton.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Right.